Claudia Tenney from House Foreign Affairs. Congresswoman, it's wonderful to have you. And I was just asking Bill about his 1,000-foot view of what he's seeing happening in China right now. But there's an additional element to this, and that's the Apple piece of it. Obviously, Apple does a lot of production in China, and it's got component makers that are based there as well, very central to its business. It never really reorganized its business model the way some others chose to do. Having said that, Apple is now talking about this notion that it would or they are actually in practice limiting the airdrop function, which is a way that people are sharing information and media on the ground in China. John Kirby was on with Martha McCallum this afternoon, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, well, Apple's a private company. We can't tell them what to do, but they have no problem, this administration, telling, for example, big oil what to do. So it's a little confusing what's happening here.
Yeah, very duplicitous, and obviously this is a huge problem. We've got Apple kowtowing to the Chinese just like the NBA did. We see this happening with big companies and a lot of money to be made. It's just like the old free trade versus fair trade. Until President Trump came in, everybody was a free trader, didn't understand that was unfair, that China was cheating. China was manipulating its currency. China was also using our intellectual property and stealing it to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars on an annual basis, and continue to do that. They manipulate our children using TikTok. Now they've got Apple phones, which are very popular, very easy to use, and Apple is always afraid to lose its profits. I mean, this is a real issue that America needs to confront. China is not just our adversary. They are our enemy, and they have a goal of world domination, and they have a role. They're trying to minimize us and be the world's global power. And once that happens, the U.S. is going to be have a very hard time trying to fight back on that issue, because once we slip away, it's going to be hard to bring that back.
I think that's an excellent point. Governor Ron DeSantis was on with Tucker last night. Let's listen.
You have people in China that are really engaged in a noble effort to protest, which is basically Leninist rule. So what is Apple doing with that? They are limiting the airdrop function of the protesters. So they are serving basically as a vassal to the Chinese Communist Party.
And that's, essentially paraphrasing what the congresswoman just said as well. But it's really, when you think about it, the power that Apple has, Bill, just as a company, as a technology producer, it's extraordinary. And it's funny because people are outraged by what Elon Musk is doing, for example, at Twitter. But those same people are not outraged by Apple's actions.
Yeah, China has exposed many hypocrisies, as the congresswoman said. The NBA and Apple, they're quick to jump on causes in the U.S. that are woke because there's no cost. But where there is a cost, or would be a cost, like in China, the NBA and Apple and a lot of other big companies are silent and complicit in it. But let's not forget, the real problem is the CCP. They're keeping their people down, and this idea that China is this stable society, it shows it's not true. You never know when something will break out, because the people don't have ways to express their disagreement with things. So it's always a threat when it bursts out, and the question is, will it spread or will it fizzle out?
Congresswoman, you brought up a great point as well. You mentioned TikTok, and what I find so interesting is the way China monitors its own people. They know who's attending a protest. They can send them an alert to, tell them that they're on lockdown because they know that they attended said protest, even if they don't suspect that that person may necessarily be infected with COVID. Having said that, you look at TikTok and its operations here in this country and its popularity as well. But many will tell you, nope, there is some sort of Chinese wall that is protecting the data. U.S. data is not going back to China. They are not tracking us in any way, and that's really difficult to believe. Senator Mark Warner commented on this, and then I'll get your reaction on the other side.
If you've got the guys and gals who are writing that code in Beijing, I fear that no matter what they say about having a wall that keeps all this information somehow separate, I'm enough of a techie to know that if you're getting in and writing the code, you're going to get access to a lot of that data. So I'm afraid how that information could be potentially used to leverage people's behavior, to expose things that are inappropriate.
And so my point is, if you see how they track their own people, Congresswoman, why wouldn't they track us? We're giving them the data. We're just handing it over.
Absolutely. They are tracking us, and what they give their own people in TikTok is TikTok Lite. What they're doing for us is making sure that they're collecting data on every single one of us, children, young people, anyone who engages in TikTok. That's why I support Governor Kristi Noem banned TikTok. We need to do that in the United States. I hate to ban things. I lived in a communist country. I lived in the former Yugoslavia, which is communism light compared to the authoritarianism and just the inhumaneness of the Chinese Communist Party. Your guest is right. This is about the Chinese Communist Party. It's about dividing and conquering, and it's about bringing down the United States and replacing the Chinese Communist Party as the world power, not the Chinese people who crave freedom. So many of them have no option, though. So this is what we need to really recognize in this country. They crave freedom. They need it. They need our support. The administration is weak on this issue. They need to stand up with these Chinese protesters who are against the Communist Party. They're not against just the lockdown. It's the Communist Party that's limiting these people. We need to give them a hope for freedom, and that's an opportunity that could be missed if the administration doesn't act on this.
Absolutely, it is protests not just against COVID lockdowns, but also the economy, censorship, and the tightness of the rule over there, which is an excellent point. I just will remind our viewers as well that President Trump wanted to ban TikTok, and obviously it didn't happen. So obviously he was thinking and trying to look ahead to see where this was going. I appreciate you both coming on the show. Great to be with you tonight. Thank you so much.